Hello? Is that the Chronicle? Oh, listen, I've just found a body. Yes. Well, I think she's been murdered.
How do you know she's been murdered?
It's up.
Have you told the police?
No, I decided...
Look, is this a hoax?
No.
You better give me your name and address.
Look, I'd rather not. Can't I just tell you where to find
Oh,
the body?
come on now. I mean, you know, a lot of people phone newspapers with all sorts of stories. Hoaxes aren't uncommon, you know.
I just don't want to get involved.
Yeah, well, I can understand that, sir. Where exactly did you say the body was?
She's in Sandalwood. I've just found her.
Just?
5 minutes ago.
Well, where are you speaking from, then?
Look, can't you just send a reporter? I'll show him where she is.
Well, I think I ought to know a little bit more first, don't you? You're in a court, I think.
Yes.
The one by the Heathrow bus shelter?
Yes?
Well, let's just take it from the top, shall we, sir? Now, you say you found a body in Sandalwood, which you believe to have been murdered, yes?
Public telephone box, corner of Sandalwood, by the Heath Road bus shelter. Man is speaking to Chronicle newspaper. Reports finding a body.
The best I have to offer.
I found them. Cheer up, John. Do you good. Dr. Hardy? Oh, yes, just 1 minute, please.
Hello. Yes, I am gardening. Oh, straight away. Certainly. Goodbye. Before you tackle that hedge, Joe, would you mind ringing Sandra? Tell her I'll pick her up.
Will they be long?
Oh, I shouldn't think so. Any minute now. Are you all right? Would you like to sit in the car?
Oh, sorry to have kept you. Mr. Johnson? Chief Inspector Fleming, Sergeant Ash. Haven't I seen you before somewhere?
It's possible. I'm a librarian at the Central.
Ah, yes, I thought I'd seen you somewhere. Shall we go? Let Dr. Hardy through when he arrives.
Yes, sir. Over there.
Fleming?
Down there.
Ah,
Now this way, sir. It's very muddy round here.
thank you.
Go straight down that path. Find the one.
With the Chronicle.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Brent. You'll have to wait for the inspector to come out.
Yeah, all right, all right. Just tell me one thing. The lad who found the body, is he still in there?
I think so.
Thanks. I'll wait.
Sorry to have taken you away from your gardening, Doctor.
You make your apologies to Joe, not to me. How long have you been here?
Just arrived. Strangled by the look of it. You walk in these woods often, Mr. Johnson?
Well, I wouldn't say often. Just when I feel like a walk.
Like you did today?
Yes. I had a half day.
Long way from the path here, aren't you?
Yes.
Why was that?
What?
Why were you so far from the path?
Well, back there, I saw a small animal. A squirrel, I think. I followed it.
Did you find it?
What?
The squirrel.
No.
Well, then what did you do?
I started to walk back towards the path. I saw an opening. I wondered where it led. That's all there is to tell, really.
I see. Well, there are one or two other details we should want, of course. We'll get those back at the station, shall we?
You want me to come?
To make a statement. It's just a formality. You don't mind, do you?
No. No.
Good.
Forceps. Thread. Second fingernail, left hand.
Right.
Yes. I don't think I've forgotten anything.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Is there anything else I have to do?
No, no, not for now. I expect you feel you've had enough for one day.
Well, yes, it has been a pretty upsetting experience. When you go out for a walk and finish up making statements at the police station, it's all a bit intimidating.
Is that why you telephoned the Chronicle? Because you find the police intimidating.
I suppose so, yes.
It's an odd thing to do, Mr. Johnson. Most people's first reaction would be to dial 999.
I just didn't want to get involved.
So you phoned the Chronicle?
Yes.
But if you didn't want to get involved, why bother to phone anyone?
I had to. You see, I thought if I told them where to find the body, I needn't... Oh, it was silly. I suppose I wasn't thinking very clearly.
Yes, well, understandable, perhaps. But as you say, silly.
Can you spare me?
Yes, I'll be right.
Can I go?
Yes, I might want to ask you some more questions later on, so don't go shooting off anywhere without letting us know.
Right.
All right, Frank, what have you got?
The dead woman, Mrs. Sylvia Walsh. Lived on her own, was divorced 10 years ago. 13-year-old daughter Claire lives with the ex-husband George Walsh at the White House in Southside.
No other relatives?
Not the wing trace so far. Both her parents are dead.
Yes, go on.
She's had about £2,300 in a building society. No recent withdrawals or deposits. Just over 200 in a current bank account. Drew out £15 last Friday.
£11 odd still in her handbag. Go on.
No job, though she had an income of £1,000 a year from a property her mother left her, and she owned a flat in Bishop's Court.
You've been busy. So while you're in the mood, go and set the reporter, Brent, will you? See if Johnson told him the same story.
I thought you'd
Just checking. Those lads from Y Division here yet?
Yes, they're downstairs now.
So with crime squad, that brings us up to 30.
That's right.
You'll have to go on your own then, won't you?
So, you've worked at the library 3 years.
Yes.
A dull sort of a job, isn't it?
It does have compensations.
Such as?
Well, you're left on your own a lot of the time. I like books, surroundings are pleasant, and there's a good pension.
You're a bit young to be thinking about things like that, aren't you?
Most people don't think about them at all.
Not until it's too late. Yeah, well, thanks for your help, Mr. Johnson, and thanks for calling us. You'll be getting a cheque from the paper, just a token, you understand.
Any idea how much?
Not really my department. £10. That's 15. Anyway, you won't be getting anything if I don't get this in. Well, bye.
Goodbye.
Well, the last page.
Thanks.
Oh, a minute, I thought you were going to put the block on it.
No, just checking.
Why, does his statement say something else?
Hey, you've got it all here, haven't you? I bet you're all pleased with Johnson.
Why, aren't you?
All this chasing about.
You're getting old, Sergeant. I'll see you.
Thank you. The post-mortem will be at 2:30.
Good. Then we can get on with the blood tests in the meanwhile. Now, if you do the specimen from the body, I'll do the traces under the nails.
Do you think you've got enough to test?
If I hadn't got enough, I would not be doing the test.
Do you feel able to talk now, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm sorry. It was such a shock to hear that she'd been murdered. If my daughter should arrive...
I won't mention it, sir.
Thank you. Her mother's caused her enough... Yes, well, what did you want to know, Inspector?
How often did you have contact with your ex-wife, sir?
As little as possible.
I see. When was the last time?
Last Friday, I telephoned her.
Oh?
Well, I do so 3 times a year. My call was to arrange our appointment for the Saturday.
Any particular reason for that appointment?
Yes, sir. Claire was to spend the weekend with her mother.
Oh, I see. She does this 3 times a year.
Yes, once every school holidays. When I divorced Sylvia, I allowed her limited access to the child.
I expect your daughter looked forward to these visits.
Not very much.
Why is that, Mr. Walsh? Did she resent her mother?
No, she doesn't resent her. Claire's led a very sheltered life. She's been brought up to admire and respect her parents, but as far as Sylvia's concerned, she can't. Quite frankly, Inspector, she's no better than a prostitute. And the fact that she takes no money doesn't make her conduct any the less reprehensible.
But she is dead, sir.
Ah, yes. Respect for the dead. She was a bad influence on Claire. As far as I was concerned, the less she saw of her mother, the better.
She did arrange a meeting for last Saturday.
Yes, I went to her flat at 10, but she wasn't there. Of course, I now realize why, but at the time I was most surprised. Yes, she used to relish our little confrontation.
So you didn't actually see her on the Saturday?
No?
Your daughter could confirm this, of course.
If necessary, yes.
But you spoke to your ex-wife on the Friday?
Yes, I told you.
What time was that?
1 o'clock. I phoned from my
You
office.
didn't actually see her that day?
No.
You're quite sure of that, sir?
Look here, Inspector, I'm not used to being questioned like this.
Like what, sir?
Implying that I may not be telling the truth. I was at my office at 5:30, came home and then went on to a meeting at the town hall. That went on for most of the evening. Perhaps, Inspector, you don't know I'm a counsellor.
Oh, yes, Mr. Walsh. I do know. About 2 days, you think, sir?
I'd say she probably died between Friday night and Saturday morning, yes.
No other signs of violence?
Apart from the injury to the neck, no.
As we found no form of ligature, can we rule out suicide?
I think so.
Not sexually assaulted?
No, there's no evidence of intercourse having taken place.
There still could be a sexual murder.
Oh, possibly. Had she been reported missing?
No, she lived alone. Divorced. According to her ex-husband, Councillor Walsh, no better than a prostitute. So do we assume a sexual motive?
I think so. Now, look, she'd had a fair amount of alcohol to drink.
We're checking the pubs. Anything else?
Yes, there were some traces of blood under her fingernails. Group O, her blood group was A.
Her assailant should show scratch marks, then?
Well, possibly, but the traces are very slight. I imagine she became unconscious pretty quickly and wasn't able to put up much of a struggle. Then there was a thread caught under a fingernail. That's yellow and brown printed silk.
Well, she wasn't wearing anything like that.
No.
So?
Well, it was caught fairly deeply under her nose, you know.
Or possibly came from whatever was used to strangle her, then. A scarf or tie?
Possibly, yes. Now, she habitually wore a ring on her left hand. Has any trace of a ring been found?
No.
Ah, well, possibly she just chose not to wear it on that particular day.
Or the murderer could have taken it away with him?
Possibly.
What are possibles, Doctor?
Come in.
Yep. I've just been to the library.
Ah, yes. Well, I took the day off.
Nothing wrong, is there?
No.
You sure?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was sent home. And the chief librarian was tired of all the fuss. You know, people coming in not to borrow books, but to talk to me. A lot of them just stared. He said it was becoming a nuisance.
Well, yes, I imagine it was.
Oh, I didn't mind.
No? Well, you're quite a celebrity.
Well, no.
Oh, yes, you are. You're in the papers. And it might even be good for you.
In what way?
Well, you've always been too shy, and this might teach you to cope with people. Well, it can't be good for you to be on your own all the time like
Look,
this.
we've been through all this before. I'm happy.
Are you?
Yes. Would you like some tea?
No, thank you. No, I mustn't be late for Bob. I really just popped in to see if you'd finished that book.
Which book?
The one about the Amazon.
Oh, yes. Yes, I have. It's here somewhere, I think. Yes, here it is. Don't! It's private. I've started my novel.
Philip.
It's very early on. I wanted to surprise you.
You have? Tell me, what's it about?
It's difficult to explain, really.
Oh, just roughly.
In a way, I suppose it's autobiographical, really.
About your childhood?
Yes.
Then you'll be writing about me.
Yes.
Where does the book begin?
My mother's funeral.
Oh. Isn't that a little...
It's a very clear memory. I was 6. You know, I remember moving into your class. I told the other boys you were my aunt. Explained why you took me home to tea. They believed me. They were impressed.
Yes, I'm sure they were. I mustn't be late. Why don't you come round on Saturday afternoon, Philip?
Well, I don't
Bob
know.
will be out. He's going to the match.
Oh, well then yes, please.
Good. We'll have tea. It'll be like old times. Now, take care. don't get carried away, will you, Doctor?
Now, let's have a look. No, it's just a plain van. No, it's not right. Look, just wash it off. No, I'll try it. All right. Now. That's better. Yes, that's much better. Looks what might very well be the mark of a loose knot. Just a second. Yes, I bet she was strangled from the front.
The Sylvia Walsh case, sir.
Yes?
Philip Johnson, who found the body,
Yes?
he's just confessed to the murder.
Good time. Finished that Sylvia Walsh article yet?
Yes, just. Here.
Very good. Yeah. This official yet?
None at this precise moment, no.
All right, forget it.
Well, Fleming will be making a statement any minute.
All right, let's wait until he does.
This is an exclusive story, Scotty. We could miss out on it.
We shan't miss anything we're not entitled to. We know what we're entitled to, don't we?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, then let's be greedy.
You strangled her, you say, with this scarf?
Yes,
Is it your scarf or hers?
mine. It was a birthday present.
Did she struggle?
Yes, a bit.
Frank, you get this down to Dr. Hardy. I'll join you there later.
Yes.
Do you know your blood group, Philip?
Hmm?
What's your blood group? Do you know?
Yes, it's O.
I see. So after she picked you up in the pub, she took you to Sandalwood.
I thought she was just coming with me for the stroll. Silly, isn't it? Naive.
You had no other thought in your mind?
No.
How did you attack her?
Oh, with my scarf.
No, I mean, were you in front or behind
In
her?
front.
Lying down?
Well, not really. We sat down. She said she wanted to talk. Well, she sort of pulled me down on her.
Then what?
Then I strangled her.
That's all.
Yes.
Why didn't you come straight to the police?
I was afraid. I didn't want to get involved.
That's what you said in your first statement. I didn't want to get involved with the police. That's why I telephoned the Chronicle.
Yes.
But that was 2 days later. Why leave it that long?
I thought someone would have found her by then. It was on my mind. Her lying there.
I see. Why are you confessing now, Philip?
I knew it'd only be a question of time before you got round to me.
What did you do after she was dead?
I went home.
Immediately after.
I sat there for a bit. I wondered if anybody might have been around, heard anything, but it was all quiet, so I went home.
You didn't touch her again?
No.
You sure of that?
I may have done. I don't remember.
Did you take anything?
How do you mean?
I mean what I say. Did you take anything?
No, well, I took my scarf
Nothing
off.
else?
I'm sorry. I just don't remember.
The threads and the fibres certainly match.
You finished with this one?
Yes, yes, I've kept a few fibres here.
All right, Frank, will you check it out with the woman he says gave it to him?
Right.
Johnson's confession fits all the facts.
Oh, yeah?
Funny there being no scratch marks on him, though his blood group was right.
Well, not after all these days. I mean, the traces were very slight even at the time. I mean, equally, we have not yet explained the presence of a grey hair or the absence of a ring.
Well, there could be 100 explanations.
Oh, true.
He says he picked her up in a pub, which we know she used. He says he strangled her from the front, which you confirmed. He says he didn't attack her. And you say there's no signs of sexual intercourse.
Yes, it's strange that he should have gone into so much detail and omitted to mention the really important thing, why he chose to strangle her.
Well, yes, it certainly looks like the one I gave Philip on his last birthday.
At any looks, you can't be more positive than that.
It's the same design, the same colour. It was made by this firm, but I imagine it wasn't the only one they made.
I see, but you can confirm that you gave either this scarf or one identical to it to Philip Johnson.
Oh, yes.
And what's his birthday?
March. Why all these questions about Philip? He only found the body. Is he in some sort of trouble?
He's helping with our inquiries, madam.
Oh. You've obviously made some terrible mistake. He's such a quiet boy. I've never known him be violent to anyone.
Does he have many girlfriends?
Well, no. I think he finds them rather empty-headed. He seems to prefer older women. Philip puts women on a pedestal.
Rather like he does you, in fact.
Well, yes, but I'm rather different. It's more a mother-son relationship. It always has been, you understand.
Do you see him often?
Well, fairly regularly. Perhaps not quite so much since I married.
Oh?
Well, he and my husband have had different generations. Well, it seems that Philip was determined not to like Bob. Oh, I've tried to encourage him to meet other people, but... Well, the fact is, Philip just doesn't mind being alone.
Well, hasn't he got any other friends?
Well, none that I know of.
I see. Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Evans. You've been a great help to us.
Well, I only hope I've made you realize that Philip couldn't possibly have done such a terrible thing. I know Philip.
Johnson.
You're not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so. But whatever you say will be taken down in writing and may be given in evidence.
I think you should be represented.
I don't want a lawyer. I killed that woman and I'm going to plead guilty.
I am bound to satisfy myself that your plea of guilty is the right plea. I would like to ask you a few questions. Please understand you do not have to answer. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
In your statement, you say we were sitting down, she said she wanted to talk, and then she sort of pulled me down on her.
Yes.
Are you saying the woman made the running, and then you had sexual intercourse with her?
Yes.
And afterwards, you strangled her?
Yes.
Did she say or do anything before you took her by the throat?
No. I just wanted to kill her.
Very well. Let the prisoner be arraigned.
Have you been?
With his lordship at the club.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What on earth were you doing?
Talking about the case.
You weren't even called.
No, I was merely an interested spectator.
John, it's over. He's guilty. He's confessed.
Yes. Why did he confess? He was so safe.
From the police, yes. But not from himself.
Oh, pangs of conscience, you mean? No.
Yes, I do.
I don't believe that. Neither did the judge. I know people are always confessing to crimes they haven't committed. Oh, they're exhibitionists, but not that young man. No. It's very calculating. He must have had something to gain.
Darling, he did it.
No.
Oh, why are you so sure?
Because he admitted to the judge something he hadn't done. He said he'd had sexual intercourse with a woman when he hadn't. Quite plain he was guessing. And he guessed wrong.
Listen, John, if you were innocent, would you confess to murder?
No, I don't seek that kind of notoriety.
Well, if you were guilty, would you?
No. As a forensic expert, I'd cover up my traces.
Good. Then come to bed.
Good day?
You?
Yes.
Good. Dinner ready yet?
No, not quite.
Well, council meeting's at 7.
Oh, dear. I didn't realise. I'll have to get a move on then.
Ah, from the solicitors. A will, probate's been granted.
Oh, good. Here.
What's that?
It was brought this afternoon. George, it's addressed to Claire.
I know it's from the solicitors. It's Sylvia's, it's Claire's mother's jewellery.
Well, you're not going to let her keep that stuff, surely.
Well, why not?
Well, it's from her...
Well, she was her mother.
I know, but I don't think it's right. It's not nice. Sell them and buy her something else.
No.
Why ever not?
Well, because they belong to Claire, not me. She'll get them when she's 21.
Is that the real reason?
How do you mean?
Sure you don't want Sylvia's jewellery as a keepsake?
No.
I'll get the dinner.
And you said he had nothing to gain.
Who?
Philip Johnson. They'd pay handsomely for a story like that, wouldn't they?
Indeed they would. A couple of other things have never been explained, too. It's that ring, and also the grey hair.
Your tidy little mind just can't bear loose ends, can it?
No, it can't. It's not all that little.
Well, regardless of the size of your mind, he's confessed.
Yes. As you very rightly pointed out, this young man is going to have a very large sum of money when he comes out of prison.
Are you accusing me of withholding evidence, Inspector?
I'm not accusing you of anything. I merely want the answer to one or two questions, that's all.
About Philip Johnson?
That's right.
Then if you don't mind, I would like to have my editor present.
As you wish.
All right, fly away, Peter.
Well, now, Inspector, what's all this about?
Quite simple, Mr. Scott. Johnson's life story. I'm curious to know how it came to be published so soon after his conviction.
In other words, did we withhold the information?
Your suggestion, sir, not mine.
Oh, come now, Inspector. Need we be so formal? This newspaper's always had a pretty good relationship with the police, hasn't it?
Yes, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Oh.
That's why I'm not here officially at this stage.
Fair enough. There. As a matter of fact, I've been expecting you. Tom, get that letter out, will you?
Sure.
You want to know when we bought his story, right?
Let's put it another way. How much did he tell you before he told us?
Well, nothing, except that he was guilty, that's all.
No details?
No, just that bare fact.
Then why didn't you come straight to me?
Oh, we did better than that. Tom Brent here and another reporter actually took him along to the nick.
Oh?
Yes, took him right up to the door and saw that he went in alone. Don't you call that cooperating with the police? We could have jumped the gun then, but we didn't. We waited for your official release.
All right. So when did you actually buy the story?
Well, now, that's a little more complicated. Let me read this letter to you. This is to state that on this day in the offices of the Chronicle newspaper, to a representative of the Chronicle newspaper Limited, I did freely confess to the murder of Sylvia Walsh, and that no inducement, financial or otherwise, was offered to me for this information. I now intend to repeat the statement to the police, and that is signed by Philip Johnson and witnessed by myself and the company solicitor at 342. And I think possibly that answers the question that you were going to ask me.
But not the one I did.
True. Once Johnson had made that statement, he then asked us if we'd be interested in his story.
What did you say?
Well, we were rather guarded, and the whole thing might have been a hoax. But anyway, the day after he was convicted, we heard from a firm of solicitors who offered us the manuscript, which was being held by a second firm of solicitors.
Clever young lad.
Oh, yes, he was cautious. He knew what he was doing, all right. 2 days later, that story was ours. Or rather, our group's, I should say.
And how much was Johnson the richer?
£12,000.
And he lied in court.
But the case can't be reopened.
No, but could be an inquiry.
That's up to the Home Secretary. But you're asking me to go to my boss and stir up a case that's already been legally settled?
Yes.
Are you saying he's innocent?
I don't know.
And I think you're wasting our time. In the normal course of events, sir, I wouldn't have needed to bother you.
No, I don't see why you should now.
I've already explained, sir. Her flat was empty.
Yes. Everything was sold up by her solicitors.
Except her jewellery. You are in possession of that, aren't you, sir?
I'm holding it until my daughter becomes of age, that's all.
I merely like to see that jewellery, that's all.
If you'd done your job thoroughly in the first place, this wouldn't have been necessary.
Just tying up a few loose ends, huh?
Oh, well, I suppose if I want any peace, I'd better show you.
She was a very beautiful woman, sir.
Physically, yes. Here you are. Keeping them for my daughter. Wouldn't be right for me to dispose of them.
Thanks, sir. Would you know if there's anything missing?
We were divorced 10 years ago. How should I know?
You didn't buy her any of this jewellery, then?
What? Oh, yes, well, that wedding ring there. Engagement ring. This pendant. Yes, that's all, I think.
Do you happen to know if she wore a ring? Any particular ring?
I saw her 3 times a year, Inspector.
I just thought I'd ask, sir.
Hold on a minute.
It's Alderman Bater's, George.
Oh, show him into the dining room. Tell him I won't be a minute. Look, Inspector, I'm afraid you've called at rather an inconvenient moment.
Oh, sorry about that, sir.
Yes, local elections coming up. Very busy right now.
Yes. Well, rather than waste any more of your time, perhaps I could take this with me.
Oh, yes, good idea, good idea.
I'll let you have a receipt, of course.
Right, just leave it there. Oh, go out the back way, will you?
I'm very grateful to you, Fleming.
I should hope so, sir. I had a most uncomfortable half hour with Councillor Walsh.
I am sorry.
Yes, I had to play him very gently. Anyway, that's her jewellery. All that was in her possession at the time of her death.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3 rings.
And if it was one of those that made the mark, we're no further forward. It's still a waste of time.
As a plain man, probably her wedding ring. It can't be that. As apt to have left a plain indentation. And as you can see from the photograph, the skin shows the markings of a setting. Now, it could be... well, it could be that one.
Now, that's her engagement ring, sir.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Quite expensive stuff, some of this.
Really?
Suppose it is genuine.
Well, I think that's the ring. Measurements tally, exactly.
Yes?
Yeah.
That's nice workmanship. There's a thread round this mounting.
May I see, please, Fleming? Go. It's brown and yellow silk.
From Johnson's scarf.
I kept some of the fibres when I was testing it.
Well, if that's from Johnson's scarf, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, they are as closely similar as to be termed identical.
And that thread was round the ring sometime prior to the murder. How else could it have got into the jewellery box?
Look, he said that he met her only on that day when he strangled her with a scarf.
Yet that proves the scarf was in Sylvia Walsh's possession sometime earlier than that.
Then he wasn't telling you the whole truth. Here's yet another contradiction in his confession.
I wonder what else Johnson has kept back.
Nothing. I confessed. Why don't you leave me alone? I told you the truth.
But not the whole truth.
Seemed to satisfy the judge.
Did it? It got you convicted, which is what you wanted, isn't it?
How do you mean?
£12,000. I wonder if the Chronicle would have paid out that sort of money if you'd been innocent.
That's a question only they can answer, Inspector.
You reckon it's going to be worth it? 15 years. It's a long time.
Yes, yes it is.
I bet prison's not quite what you thought, is it?
Not quite.
£12,000 for 15 years in prison. Not a very good bargain, really, is it?
You've got your sums wrong, Inspector. That money is invested at 5%. In 15 years, it'll be worth £24,947 and 3 shillings. How much money did you have at 36, Inspector?
More important, how much will the Inspector of Taxes have of your money when you are 36?
Worked it all out, haven't you, Johnson?
Wouldn't you?
And you'll have worked out what's going to happen when your story is blown.
What do you mean?
Well, apart from the wastage of police time, there is a little matter of receiving £12,000 by deception. You can get 10 years for that. So you're going to end up inside with no money to come out to. Perhaps not so clever after all.
I'm sorry, I don't follow you.
I think you do, Johnson. Dr. Hardy's going to ask you a few questions. We want the truth this time.
The truth is I've been tried and sentenced. I'll serve my time. I'm not going to appeal, so why don't you leave me alone?
Because that's not the end of the matter.
But there can't be a retrial.
Not a retrial, no. But a Home Office inquiry. That's why we're here, Johnson.
I confessed. Wasn't that enough for you?
You made a free confession, but not a full confession.
It was.
You said yourself there were things you didn't remember.
Well, yes, perhaps small things. It's upsetting doing a murder.
Is it?
Mr. Johnson, when you went into the woods with Mrs. Walsh, it was a very warm day, wasn't it?
Yes.
You were wearing an open-necked shirt and you had your silk scarf.
Yes.
Yes, that scarf with which you said you strangled her.
Yes, you proved it, didn't you? You proved it.
Oh, I admit, she probably was strangled with that scarf, yes. No, I was wondering, are you certain that you were wearing it?
What do you mean?
She wasn't wearing it, perhaps?
No.
Ah, and this was the first time you ever saw her?
Yes. Well, do you think I'd have put up with that twice?
What? This was the only time?
Yes.
It's not possible, Johnson. You did murder her?
Yes.
No, Johnson, you can't have it both ways. If you only met her once, you couldn't have murdered her.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Walsh was in possession of your scarf several days before she died.
That's not true.
And that means that you were with her before. You see, you don't know what really happened on the day she died, do you? That's your trouble. Now, I do believe you when you say that you wouldn't have put up with her behavior more than once. I think you probably tend to idealize women. You may even feel somewhat inadequate at times. But you neither had sexual intercourse with her, as you said to the judge, nor did you strangle her. No, you ran away and left your scarf behind you. And perhaps on your next half day, you came back to look for it, and you found it round her neck. She'd been wearing it, and she'd been strangled with it, and you removed it because it was yours. You thought that when the body was found, that scarf might be identified and it might lead to you. And once again, you were afraid. And then, if I may hazard a guess, I think you had another feeling. A feeling, how can I describe it, of importance. Now, you wouldn't be alone. People are always admitting to crimes they've never committed. They seek notoriety.
That's why you telephoned the Chronicle, isn't it? They paid you for your news item. And then you realized that with a scarf you could be implicated in the murder.
And then you really would be an important person, wouldn't you?
And a much more valuable story to sell. That's the truth, isn't it, Johnson?
Mr. Johnson, you are innocent.
I want to go back to my cell.
All right, Johnson, you go back to your cell and think about this. When I find the real murderer of Sylvia Walsh, you're going to be in deep trouble. If you want to help me, that's up to you. But I'm going to find him with or without your help. Well?
I want to go back to my cell.
Water!
You still any doubts?
What next?
Well, first of all, there's the question of the engagement ring. It is quite possible that she was wearing it when she was murdered.
Another visit to Councillor Walsh?
I think so.